So, have you ever wanted something so badly that you have been praying for it and you've been asking for it, but no matter how much you seem to want that thing doesn't seem to even move 1 inch closer to you? Have you ever prayed and asked for love from a specific person that you thought and knew that it was the right person for you and that they were perfect for you, only for that person to walk away? Have you ever worked so hard for something only for life to just slam that door closed for you? We take these moments as moments of failure and we're truly disheartened and we think that well maybe I'm not meant to be one of those lucky people that always seem to get what they want in life. Maybe I'm just not meant to get the things that I truly want. But what if those moments weren't rejections? What if those moments were actually redirections? And the thing is with life that it grants you what you want, but not in the way that you want it, and especially not in the way that you expect it. And if you don't understand that, you think that the delay, that the no, the goodbye, you think that they mean failure. But what if it actually means that it's actually getting you closer to what you want? What if it actually means that you're actually getting aligned with something bigger than the thing that you even settled for? We need to be able to understand when life whispers into our ear and says not this when you ask for more. And trust me, listening to that whisper, it can be one of the most loving things you can ever do. Listening to that voice and not ignoring it and not being stubbornly persisting to stay in a place that you think that you want. When you love yourself enough to listen to that rejection, to listen to that no, and listen to that whisper saying to you not this, then you are opening yourself up to something way bigger than you have ever thought that it was possible for you. So I've been reading this book called The Pivot Year by Brianna West, and is the author of 101 essays, and she's just so brilliant. Like, I really love all of her books, and I was reading this part of her book that I'm going to read. It's like a small paragraph that really opened up this topic in my mind again, and I thought, like, this is exactly what I need right now, and maybe this is exactly what other people might need to hear too. So I'm going to break this down for you, but firstly I'm going to read it to you. You tell life what you want, and life tells you how to get it. When you ask for soulmate love, you must listen if life says, but not with them. When you ask for prosperity, you must listen if life says, but not like this. When you ask for belonging, you must listen if life says, but not here. What feels on the surface like rejection is often redirection. When you ask for a big life, you cannot keep fighting for a smaller one to stay. It's just so beautiful. It's such an important reminder. And so I'm going to use this as my inspiration and to tell you what you might need to hear today. You tell life what you want, but you don't get to tell life how to get it. Life gets to tell you how to get it. Our conscious mind set the goals, but our subconscious mind, which is our fears, which is our beliefs, which is our emotional patterns, that part gets to dictate the route and gets to decide the route. What you consciously desire needs to be in alignment with your subconscious, because if it's not, then you block your own blessings. A lot of people are asking for love, for peace, for success, for money, but when the route, when it doesn't look the way they imagined it, they resist it. And this is a control pattern that is rooted in survival, and it's basically telling us that if it's not predictable, then it's not safe for me to be here. I can't predict how this will unfold, and it's not going the way I expect, then I don't have control over it, then I'm not able to feel safe and secure. But life really is here to teach us surrender and to let go of the how and just trust the unfolding that is happening around you. Maybe you're not doing anything wrong. Maybe it's just the way that you imagine getting there is just too small for who you are becoming. And we're not able to see that and understand that because we are always underestimating ourselves. You ask for love, and love will be given to you, but not with them, not with the one that you thought. As when Brianna West was saying in this part, when you ask for soulmate love, you have to be able to listen if life says, but not with them. The thing is, we confuse attachment as alignment. We often cling to people because of these unresolved emotional needs that we have, whether that's fear of abandonment, whether that's fear of rejection, whether that's validation seeking. And we often cling to people because of these emotional needs rather than actual compatibility. And this ends up creating this emotional entanglement that we often confuse as a soulmate connection. I often preach about finding the person that feels like home, that feels like safety, and feels like a place where you feel secure. But the problem is that when you have unhealed wounds and you don't know what true safety feels in your nervous system, you will attract to you what the sense of safety and familiarity that you have been accustomed with. So if you are familiar with a sense of safety that comes from people that are toxic from you, then you're going to be attracted to that sense of safety that you are familiar with. And that's the thing, that your nervous system might feel safe around someone that actually reflects your unhealed wounds. You feel at home with the person that actually trigger the wounds that come from home. And yeah, letting go of that might feel like a huge loss, but letting go of that is such a redefining moment for you, and to be able to redefine your template for love, to heal what love actually means. Just because you felt deeply for them, it doesn't mean that they were your home. And sometimes that heartbreak can be the door to your wholeness. Prosperity isn't always in the hustle. And as Brianna West mentions in that excerpt in the pivot here, when you ask for prosperity, you should also listen if life says, but not like this. So a lot of us, we equate effort with worth. And this is something that I spoke more on my last video on productivity guilt. Especially high achievers, we internalize this belief that, success comes from sacrifice, from burnout, from the struggle. But what we actually need to understand is that abundance actually comes from a calm nervous system. But what we don't actually understand is that abundance flows through nervous system regulation and not from chronic stress. And if you're chasing prosperity in a way that drains you, then your body shuts down and gets into this survival mode. And because you shut down and you enter survival mode, then you shut down also flow. You shut down creativity, and you're closed off from them because your mental capacity and your energy needs to focus on surviving and not to thriving. And this is the way the universe is inviting you to shift from control and force to trust and magnetism. You were never meant to hustle your way into joy. And sometimes we forget what is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself, will never require you to put yourself through distress and survival mode and to close you off from your upper energies, from your energies of creativity, of flow, and from the things that make you feel like a whole person. Belonging might not be in that room. You have to be able to listen if life says, but not here. And the thing is, as humans, we are wired for belonging, right? It's a need that is actually not talked about enough. It's mentioned in the need of communities, but we don't understand how deep this actually goes. Your need for belonging can be influencing your decisions when it comes to love, when it comes to jobs and career, when it comes to the way you perceive yourself and the way you force yourself into a certain identity in order to match, in order to feed in with that specific community, right? So this sense of belonging is not like, oh, I just like to have people around me and I want to belong. It infiltrates and it touches your every decision in life if you have this huge sense of belonging that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for. If your self-worth is fragile, you will try to fit in rather than belong. There's a big difference between fitting in and belonging. Fitting in is conditional, but belonging is unconditional. You try to fit in by not being yourself, by trying to be more like them, by becoming a chameleon to attune to them, and you don't accept yourself as good enough to be able to be there, so you need to change yourself. But belonging is the thing where you show up as yourself and you stand up as yourself and loving yourself unconditionally, and love and being accepted as yourself by that community unconditionally. Doesn't matter what you do, who you date, who you are in a relationship with, what you are doing with your life or whatever. You are loved unconditionally and from that community without having to fit in with them. And that's the thing, that when you're having this fragile self-worth, you might be trying to find acceptance outside of you. So you might be trying to find acceptance from communities, from careers, from relationships that actually make you shrink yourself to fit into that box. That sense of belonging will start when you stop shrinking yourself and you stop betraying yourself for their approval. Trust me, you are not too much for the right space. You're just in the wrong room. Rejection is redirection. So what we think is often rejection, and denial and exclusion is often redirection. And this rejection really activates this primal fear of exclusion, which then our brain codes us and understands as, oh, look, we are in danger. We need to make sure that we're not rejected, we're not excluded. But what we often don't understand is that rejection actually reflects a mismatch and not a deficiency from you. You don't have to take this personally. Emotionally mature people are able to interpret this rejection as simply data and not as part of their identity. They don't take this thing personally. They see this as an opportunity to reflect on it and be like, okay, what is this telling me? What is this teaching me? Your ego will say, oh, I wasn't enough. But your higher self says that wasn't aligned. Healing will start when you're actually able to see no, not as an attack, but actually as a guide. When you start seeing it as a guide, you start trying to interpret it and reflect on it and try to follow it, the lesson that it's trying to teach you, rather than take it personally and make it part of your identity as somebody that is not lovable enough to be included. And sometimes, honestly, we just need to see things that maybe we have somebody over us looking after us. Maybe you weren't rejected. Maybe you were actually rescued. You never know that if you were included in those places, around those environments and around these people, how will that have turned up? And how that will have influenced you and led you into a reality and into a situation where it wouldn't have been for your highest good. And I really believe that, because I really felt that there's so many times in my life that I went into an experience as deep enough as to be able to reflect on it and learn, but not deep enough in order to not be able to get myself out of it. So I was able to see that as being guided and being guarded and being protected from situations, and staying somewhere or taking off people away from me when those people served their purpose in my life, and as soon as they stopped serving a reason, they were removed. You can't ask for a big life and still cling to a small one. And as it was said in the book, when you ask for a long life, you cannot keep fighting for a smaller one to stay. And we as people, we have this thing called loss aversion, where we fear loss more than we desire gain. Even when we ask for more, even when we pray for more, and we truly desire that bigger blessing into our life, we unconsciously hold on to what is familiar to us because we are afraid to let go of that familiarity, even if that thing limits us. And that honestly is a trauma pattern that equates familiarity with safety. But trust me, you will never be able to grow by staying in your comfort zone. And the more you get used to getting out of your comfort zone and out of familiarity, the more you're going to train this muscle to be able to not allow comfort and familiarity to suck you in that level where you find such difficulty to come back up. To understand that that relationship, that friendship, that job, that old version of yourself has served you once. But if it now feels suffocating, it is not sabotaging to let it go. It's actually self-honor. It's actually self-respect. It's impossible. You can't become who you're meant to be while you keep holding hands with who you used to be. You need to become an entirely different person, an entirely different version. And you can't do that while you are still holding hands with the old version of yourself. You are not being denied, you're being refined. Psychological growth happens through friction and happens through contrast. So that's why a lot of people say you need to go through the contrast in order to grow. And I spoke about this on my last video on getting specific and how we are able to become specific and refine our vision by going through experiences and by going through challenges that teach us what we don't want to have. What we may perceive at that moment as a failure or as a delay is actually a refining process where life strips away all the illusions so we can actually see clearly. And I know that we are averse to pain, and we need to sometimes be reminded that emotional pain is not always a sign that you're off track. Sometimes we need to be able to see it as a breaking open and not as a breaking down. Life will take you through this contrast so it can refine who you are. Life will refine your identity through what doesn't work out so you can actually finally become who you truly are. So if you don't go through that contrast, you won't be able to finally see clearly that I am not that person and my identity is actually not aligned with what I thought it was, and this is who I actually truly am. So you are actually not being denied. You are being reshaped so you are able to become the version of you that can hold what you have asked for. And finally, you need to trust the divine timing. And this is very key because a lot of us, while we're going through it, we forget this. This impatience stems from this lack of emotional safety. If we don't trust life or ourselves, we try to rush outcomes in order to feel secure, in order to feel safe and stable. But actually real healing happens in the void. And the void, what is the void? The void is the space that is between the endings and the beginnings. It's that time period where you think that I don't know what's going on. I have just finished something, but I haven't yet started something. And it's that empty period, it's that empty space that you need to trust its timing. So you have to be able to learn to hold yourself in that not yet period without making it into a failure, without giving it that meaning that I have failed. And in that stillness, in that period of not yet, is where your intuition becomes more sharper. It's when your self-trust is going to build and is going to rise. And it's that time, it's when alignment finds you. So my suggestion is to stop rushing what's already yours. If it's meant for you, it's already on its way. It's just not going to come on your own timeline. So maybe the things that are falling apart aren't your punishment. They're actually your becoming. Maybe life isn't saying no, but it's saying this way. If you're in a place right now in your life where you've been hearing not like this, not with them, not here, I really hope that today's video reminded you that life always will respond to the truest version of yourself and will always respond to what is in your greatest greatest good and your highest good, that rather than the what you think is your greatest good and your highest good. So I hope this video served as a reminder that you're not behind, but you're simply being rerouted. And remember, guys, you don't have to chase what is already yours and what is already aligned. You just need to become the version of yourself that is going to be able to receive it. You just need to become the version of yourself that is ready to receive it. So that's it for today, guys. I really hope this video helped as your reminder to shift your mindset from seeing things are going on in your life as rejection to redirection, and to bring back this trust that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.